It's Wednesday, time now for another Discuss vid. Today, we're talking about Red Dead Online. Yes, I realize that nothing about Red Dead Online or Red Dead Redemption 2 Online has been announced or even mentioned. That's the fun part about my Discuss series, where we can throw out some ideas, some speculation, what we'd like to see, what we don't want to see. So what we're going to do today is something a little cray-cray. That's right, crazy. Crazy mount ideas for Red Dead Online. Now, I gave you all the opportunity to submit your thoughts and your ideas regarding crazy mounts in Grand Theft Auto Online. However, you guys kind of used similar mounts that we've had in previous Red Dead games, which we'll go over. Now, here's a real-life example of traditional mounts like horses and ponies. Currently in the world, there's like, I think, 300 breeds of traditional mounts and horses and ponies, so there's plenty of variety there for Rockstar to go with for traditional mounts for Red Dead Redemption 2 single player mode, as well as Red Dead Online for multiplayer. But I get the feeling that we may end up seeing some interesting choices for mounts the further into Red Dead Online we get, or perhaps even at the very beginning. Now, we're not going to include something ridiculous like steam or rocket power horses, or horses that fire off Gatling guns or anything like that. No nonsense like that. These are in three categories, okay? Modern animals that exist right now, that would be considered to be a crazy mount, non-traditional if you will. Ancient, as well as mythical. So these are the three categories. First off, let's talk about the history of quote-unquote non-traditional crazy mounts in the Red Dead franchise, which there is a history, by the way. We go back to the original Red Dead Revolver, which is technically the first game. There was a mission where you could actually ride around a farm on bulls. Riding around on bulls isn't exactly what I would consider a traditional mount. It's kind of crazy, especially for the bull riders. Yeah, they only last a few seconds before they get their asses knocked off. Then, of course, Red Dead Redemption multiplayer had several non-traditional mounts that you could eventually rank up and get, like Bonzo the Bull. There were two different types of buffalo, a regular buffalo as well as an albino buffalo, the Super Bull, along with the Zonkey, aka the zebra donkey, which was like the highest mount you could get. Once you get to a certain rank, you could unlock that, or else you had to reach legendary status. By the way, I did do a top 10 mounts video a long time ago in my short-lived top 10 series. I know, very original, right? But feel free to check out my Red Dead Redemption top 10 mounts video. I got that linked up for you to go check out. Going over the top 10 mounts, in my opinion, from Red Dead Redemption, which included traditional as well as non-traditional mounts. Then we move over to Undead Nightmare, which had nothing but crazy mounts, right? 6 total. The zombie horse, which you could get. There were zombie horses you could mount and ride around. Then, of course, the 4 horses of the apocalypse. War, death, pestilence, and famine. I think almost everybody's 2 favorites were probably war and death. I think those were the top 2. Mine, I think, would probably be war, because you could, like, set everyone on fire. Death was alright as well, because you could instantly kill zombies by just simply hitting them with the death horse. But yeah, those are really 4 badass non-traditional crazy horses that came with Undead Nightmare. And the ultimate prize in Undead Nightmare was the coveted unicorn. Yes, there was a unicorn in Undead Nightmare. It took some effort to get. I think you had to go find the chupacabra. You had to kill the chupacabra somewhere in Mexico. And then eventually the unicorn would spawn. It took some doing, but it was definitely worth it, because the unicorn had like unlimited stam. It could like go on forever. Plus it had rainbows and butterflies. It was awesome. I love the unicorn. So there's several examples of non-traditional crazy mounts throughout the previous 2 Red Dead games. Red Dead Online, along with Red Dead Redemption Multiplayer, and the DLC to Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. So let's go in to some of my ideas regarding the crazy mounts that we could see possibly in Red Dead Online. And once again, if you like any of these, or if you don't like any of these, or if there's one that I left out that you would really like to have as a crazy mount in Red Dead Online, or Red Dead Redemption 2 Online, or whatever it's going to be called, feel free and leave it below in the comment section. We're going to start off with, let's say, modern animals that could be seen as a non-traditional crazy mount. I like crazy. Let's just go crazy. All right, so we could go with camels. Now, camels works because there is actually a history of camels in the U.S. No, camels are not from the North American region, but in the 1800s, the U.S. Army actually had camels shipped over from overseas, and they were raised, and the idea was, I think the Army was going to use camels as an alternative to horses. So, yeah, you could technically have camels in Red Dead Online. I mean, they are used throughout the world as an alternative mount, and some people even say camels are a better choice over horses. But let's go with some crazier mounts than a camel, because you could have camels, and there's different types of camels. Ostriches. Yes, ostriches and emus. Two birds, hypothetically big enough to be a mount. And obviously they'd be a little different than your typical horse or pony or donkey or mule, right? So yeah, I mean, you could theoretically have an ostrich or an emu as a mount in Red Dead Online. I think there's even some people that actually ride emus. I don't know how long you could ride an emu for, but this is a video game, right? Next, of course, is animals you'd probably more or less see in the North American region, like an elk, moose, reindeer. All three of these are big enough to easily be mounted by, a character in Red Dead Online. And with the elk, moose, and reindeer, you could actually use their antlers as some sort of defensive or offensive capabilities in the game. So yeah, I mean, you could theoretically have those as non-traditional crazy mounts as well in Red Dead Online. Next, we're going to move on to some predators. Well, there's a few others as well that are not predators, but the grizzly bears or black bears or polar bears, those would be fun options for a non-traditional crazy mount in Red Dead Online, along with cougars, mountain lions, panthers, tigers, leopards, cheetahs, lions, hyenas maybe. So yeah, several predators from around the world. If Rockstar wanted to do different packs, say for example they wanted to do a Down Under pack and feature the ability to have ostriches or emus or kangaroos as mounts, or maybe even go further back and use the Tasmanian tiger, which went extinct, sometime, I think in the early 20th century, I believe. Or you could go with a Bengal tiger, or, different breeds of tiger that are out there, or bears, like we mentioned. And then you could do kind of an African safari pack with the lions, cheetahs, leopards, hyenas, along with hippos, elephants, rhinos. So, yeah, you could theoretically see different breeds, different packs. And the elephant could actually be for an Indian pack. Maybe you could do the elephant with the tiger. That would work really well together. And I could really see Red Dead Online having all these crazy different varieties of mounts in the game. And the big reason why I believe that this could very well happen is not just the history of crazy mounts in other Red Deads, but the fact that if you're going to have a Red Dead Online game and you're going to update it similar to Grand Theft Auto Online, you need new content. What makes more sense than new mounts? Just like new vehicles are the big seller in Grand Theft Auto Online, you're also going to need something new to keep adding to Red Dead Online. And you can't add cars because in this time period, cars were a thing, but they weren't in mass production. So you could have a few cars, but the cars, in all honesty, at the time, were very inferior to a traditional mount like a horse. Back then, you'd rather have a horse anyways because they didn't exactly have highways or interstates back then. So a horse makes more sense, and these mounts make more sense than to go the car route. So you could theoretically have rhinos and elephants and hippos wandering around the map of Red Dead Online. Even though it's set in the American heartland, that doesn't matter. You could have some sort of excuse like these animals escaped from a circus, because even back then they had circuses. They brought over all these wild, crazy animals from far off lands, Africa, the Middle East, India. And that could be the entire story. This animal escaped from the zoo, but it can be yours for the lofty price of 100 gold or whatever the currency is going to be in Red Dead Online. So once again, these are the crazy modern animals that you could see used as crazy mounts. Once again, camels, ostriches, emus, elks, moose, reindeer, cougars, different types of bears, tigers. Let's see, lions, oh my, right? Rhinos, elephants, hippos, cheetahs. The cheetah would probably have to be the fastest mount, obviously, for reasons, right? Hell yeah, I would love to be on a cheetah. And of course, a leopard, hyena. But then, Let's go into the water, okay? So let's say that there's some water mounts you could get. You know, we're getting crazier, but don't worry, we're gonna keep going crazy. That's why it's called crazy, right? We're going crazy. All right, so let's say, unlike Red Dead Redemption, you can actually swim in Red Dead Online, hopefully, right? And but you could go faster if you had a water mount. Or, you know, there could also be steamboats. Let's hypothetically say that there's steamboats that you could purchase in the game, because steam power was a thing in the late 19th century and the early 20th century. So theoretically, off topic, there could be a variety of steamboats we could have and own, besides maybe a rowboat or a canoe. But let's just say they decide to go really crazy and give us some water mounts, like a bull shark, or a hammerhead shark, or dolphins, or killer whales. Now, I don't know if the main body of water is going to be fresh water or salt water, but once again, it's a video game. Probably doesn't really matter, but I don't really see these actually happening. It'd be kind of interesting if it did, but I think we're starting to get into Ark territory. You know, speaking of Ark, we have mythical animals now that we're going to go into. I told you it was going to keep getting crazier. It's getting so crazy. Some of you are going to be like, GeauxBurns, time for you to get a padded cell and a straitjacket. You've just lost it. Oh, yes. All right, so some mythical ideas I came up with for mounts include the Pegasus, a Sphinx, a Thunderbird, and of course, a dragon. Now, this would be kind of cool for like aerial mounts, because unless you have like the ability to purchase and float around in a balloon, or maybe even a glide around, maybe they have gliders that you can buy and you can just like glide off mountains. I don't know. The truth is, like Zeppelins and blimps didn't come along till years later. And it wasn't until like a few years after, like 1899, that the first plane took off, you know, by the Wright brothers. And even back then, the plane was in its early stage of development. So I don't think that planes are going to be a thing in Red Dead Online. If they are, the best we can hope for is maybe like World War I era biplanes and triplanes, but I seriously doubt it. Just like I seriously doubt we're going to have vehicles like oldie cars from back in that period, the late 19th century, early 20th century, before, you know, mass production like with Ford and whatnot. So there could be aerial mounts like a Pegasus or a Sphinx or a Thunderbird or even a dragon. A dragon would be really cool though. Very cool, because it would have the ability to shoot fire or ice fire or some kind of fire. Probably be expensive to sell. That'd probably be like 1,000 gold. All right, so I think those are the mythical choices I had. Now let's go with like ancient animals. Animals that are long extinct. Saber-toothed tigers, dire wolves, woolly mammoths. Animals long gone. But they would still make for really interesting mounts in Red Dead Online. I mean, who wouldn't want their own dire wolf, right? You feel like you're in the House of Stark, right? Riding around on your own ghost. That'd be kind of cool. Or a woolly mammoth. That'd be awesome too. And of course a saber-toothed tiger. Rawr. But then let's go further back. Oh yes, we are going all the way back to the day and age and time of dinosaurs. As my subscribers know, dinosaurs are most definitely real. And there couldn't be more real than adding some, you know, from some of the favorites, you know, from like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Ark, once again bringing up Ark. Raptors, Triceratopses, T-Rexes. Yeah, this is starting to sound a lot like Ark, isn't it? A little too much. But anyways, those are some of my wild, crazy, non-traditional mount ideas for Red Dead Online. I don't know if any of those will become a thing, but like I said, I believe that Rockstar, if they are going to keep Red Dead Online going, they're going to need new content, similar to how they've kept Grand Theft Auto Online going with new content over, what, nearly 5 years now? And they can't add fighter jets, they can't add helicopters, they can't add tanks, they can't add all these sports cars and supercars. You know, they can't add new properties, new business ventures. But the real selling point, besides clothing and, of course, weapons from this time period, is mounts, like horses. And that's the traditional. Horses and ponies and donkeys and mules, traditional. Everything else we just mentioned, non-traditional, i.e. crazy. Very crazy indeed. But personally, I'll just be happy if they add a Clydesdale, because who doesn't want a big giant Clydesdale to ride around, right? So anyways, let me know your thoughts, your views, your opinions, your ideas regarding a crazy mount or crazy mounts you would like to see in Red Dead Online.